So hello everybody, welcome to Diksha Online. Now we were discussing about the chapter Principles of Inheritance and Variations. So we will now be discussing about the third lecture in the same chapter. We have already started about the Mendel's laws of inheritance. So this is the chapter overview for you. We have done the inheritance of one gene that is substantiated by Mendel's monohybrid cross, inheritance of two genes dihybrid cross, and several deviations from Mendelism like incomplete dominance, codominance, chromosomal theory, polygenic inheritance, and pleiotropy, followed by which we will be learning about sex determination, mutation, and we will end with a set of gene and chromosomal disorders which is put under the title the genetic disorders. A quick review of what we learnt in the previous class. We learnt about the inheritance of one gene, isn't it? Then we learnt about how Mendel conducted his monohybrid cross. And we also learnt the outcome that is based on the observations of Mendel's monohybrid cross. He gave the first law, that is law of dominance, and the second law, that is law of segregation. Now I hope all of you remember one thing. Now in this review slide itself, I will make it very clear to all of you. When I say one gene, the first thing that should come to your mind is one gene, one character. Yes, I hope this is clear. And now when we say one character, what are we talking about in this particular example? We are talking about height. And do you remember what are the two traits under height? The two contrasting pairs of traits. So one was tall and one was dwarf. If you remember, the gene controlling the tall or the gene coding for the tall trait is capital T, and the gene coding for the dwarf trait was small t. So such a cross which deals with one gene referring to one particular character, which is height in this case, in this example, and that gene exists in two allelic forms, the slightly different forms of the gene, that is capital T and small t. By now you all are aware that we should call such slightly different forms of gene as alleles. Okay? So this was about, so whenever you think of one gene, just think about one character and that character existing in two traits. So one gene in how many allelic forms? In two allelic forms, that is capital T and small t. Now here is a representation of Mendel's monohybrid cross from your NCERT to give you some clarity. So we have crossed, now Mendel crossed a tall pea plant with a dwarf plant. In F1 generation, all the plants were tall. I hope you remember, all the plants were tall in the F1 generation. Then he allowed the F1 plant to undergo self-pollination. And in the F2 generation, he obtained two varieties of plants, that is tall and dwarf, in the phenotypic ratio of 3:1, and the genotypic ratio of homozygous tall is to heterozygous tall is to homozygous dwarf, that is 1:2:1. Now, just to make sure that you have understood the concept, I will be giving you the schematic representation of Mendel's monohybrid cross all over again. I want all of you to open your books and practice the Mendel scheme, the scheme for the monohybrid cross, because it will make your concept more thorough. Okay? So in the scheme, first I'm going to mention what did Mendel do. Mendel chose parents. P1, parental generation 1. Now if you remember, he took purebred tall pea plant. He took a purebred tall pea plant and he crossed it with a purebred dwarf pea plant. All of you agree? Now what I want you to focus on this word, that is purebred. That means it is homozygous. Pure breeding we have learnt in the last class. On repeated self-pollination, it expresses the same. It exhibits a stable inheritance and expression of a particular trait. So pure breeding means what will the genotypes be? So the second thing I should write in the scheme. Now the scheme is a 5-mark question, as you all are aware. Capital T crossed with small t, small t. According to Mendel's scheme, if you remember, capital T is the gene or allele that controls tallness, and small t is the gene or allele that controls dwarfness. I hope this much is clear to all of you. Correct? Fine. So now Imagine this is the male plant. So let me put a male sign in bracket, and this is the female plant. He cross-pollinated them. Normally pea plants undergo self-pollination, but he cross-pollinated them. So if this is the male plant, he would be interested in collecting the pollen from this plant. Let us see what type of pollen it produces. All the pollen with a single capital T allele. This plant is going to produce all eggs with a single small t allele. I hope you now remember that if I put a circle, I'm talking about gamete. And why I am showing only one allele inside? Because the gametes are haploid. So this will be the pollen. You don't have to write this in the scheme. This is only for your understanding. And this will be the egg. The pollen carries a single capital T allele and the egg carries a single small t allele, because both are, in brackets I am writing here, haploid. So on the left side, what should I write here? On the left side, I should write gametogenesis. And how are gametes formed? Obviously by a division that is referred to as, by a reductional division that is referred to as meiosis. So gametogenesis or meiosis. Yes, now see, this pollen fertilizes this egg. The male gamete in the pollen fertilizes this egg. So I must write, after cross pollination, I must write in brackets, or above this I can write fusion. Now the resulting seed will have capital T small t. So what does the seed belong to? The seed belongs to F1 generation. So you should write here F1 generation. In brackets you have to write hybrid. The offspring obtained from a hybrid cross is a hybrid plant, isn't it? Now what did he do? He took the seed and he sowed it in the soil. All grew to become tall. Now this is the scheme. Let me draw a line. So this is the scheme. This is not the end of the scheme. There is more to it, but for now remember, all of them were phenotypically tall, but as you can see, they're heterozygous. Capital T from one parent, from the male parent, and small t from the female parent. Okay, what did Mendel conclude here? Mendel said all are tall. So what did he say? The dwarf trait had disappeared. So he said which is dominant over the other. The tall trait is, he considered the tall trait to be dominant. So if you were to imagine this plant, I have always told you, when you see two alleles, always conjure up an image of a chromosomal pair like this. On one there is capital T sitting, on the other in the corresponding position small t is sitting. Now capital T is not allowing small t to express itself. Let me put a minus sign. So what will we call this capital T allele now? We will call it as the dominant allele. And what do we call the one that is getting suppressed? The one that is getting suppressed is called recessive. We had learned this in the law of dominance. When there are two dissimilar pair of factors, when there is capital T and small t, which are dissimilar or unlike, heterozygous condition, one allele will suppress the effect or will dominate over the other. That allele which is dominating is called dominant allele. The one that is suppressed is referred to as recessive allele. Is that clear to all of you? Okay. So this is not the end of the where I have drawn the line. I am going to continue from here in the next slide. So we got the F1 seed. He's planted the F1 plants and he planted the seeds and he got all F1 plants which were, please remember, which were tall. So he concluded that the trait of tall is dominant over the trait of dwarf. And I've shown you the same thing at the bottom half of the page here. That there are two alleles, capital T and small t. In which plant am I talking about? This is which plant? This is in the F1 hybrid. The F1 hybrid has one capital T, one small t. Capital T is dominant over recessive, that is small t, and as a result all the plants were tall. So now let us see what he did. He selfing, he carried out selfing of F1 hybrid. Selfing means he allowed the F1 plant to undergo self-pollination. So whenever we say selfing, again I have to write the genotypes. The same genotype I will write twice with a cross sign in between. Why? Because the same plant acts as male as well as female, because the pollen from the same plant is falling onto the stigma of the same plant. So pollen is also from the same plant, so the plant becomes male. Egg is also from the same plant, so the same plant is the female. I hope this concept is clear. When I say selfing, I am talking about self-pollination. So I wrote the genotype. So now imagine that this is the I told you this is the male part of the hybrid plant, so it is going to produce two types of pollen grain, and the female part is going to produce two types of eggs. Why two types? Because they're heterozygous. So half of the pollen will have capital T in them, the other half of the pollen will have small t in them. Half of the eggs will have capital T in them, the other half of the eggs will have small t in them. So let me write here for your knowledge. This is the pollen which carry the male gamete, and this is the egg. Egg is nothing but the female gamete. So can you see both of them have produced two different types of gametes? Now before that I have to write here very clearly again gametogenesis. How did the gametes come? By meiosis. So I have to write gametogenesis in brackets, I have to write meiosis. Why the gametes have only one allele? Because we have already seen only in diploid cells you will see two alleles, because the gametes are haploid. All the gametes are N. N means haploid, so they have only one allele. If you remember the law of segregation, the gametes, the cells are said to be, the gametes are said to be pure, because they either have capital T or they have small t. They don't have both. They don't have a mixture. They don't have both or a mixture. They have either of them. Okay, now we are going to draw the next generation. To show the next generation, once the pollen and the egg fuse, we have to show a Punnett square board. You all know how to form a Punnett square board. For a Punnett square board, we will take a row and a column, left column and first row on top. We will divide the corner into two halves like this. In the side facing the row, I am going to put a male symbol. The side facing the column, I am going to put a female symbol. That means I am going to take the pollen in the first row and egg in the second row. Now I am going to draw boxes in between. What are the boxes representing? Yes, seeds. Seeds of which generation? F2 generation. So now let us see how it happens. So when this pollen fertilizes with this egg, we have capital T, capital T. When this pollen fertilizes with this egg, we have capital T, small t. When this pollen fertilizes with this egg, we have capital T, small t. When this pollen fertilizes with this egg, we have small t, small t. So we have four types of genotypes, four genotypes of seeds. And when he grew the seeds, he saw that this plant capital T obviously will grow to become tall. This plant also, because of dominance, it will be tall, heterozygous tall. This will also be tall, but this plant, surprisingly, he saw that what had reappeared? Dwarf trait had reappeared. Remember, in F1 generation, none of them were dwarf. So he said that the dwarf trait disappeared because of dominance. But suddenly what has reappeared over here? Dwarf has reappeared. This is not the end of the scheme. You have to write the ratios. First you write 3:1. 3 of them are tall and 1 of them is dwarf. 3:1. So this is something which is visible to you, which is observable. So we call this as the phenotypic ratio. All of you agree? Phenotypic ratio. Next, what is not visible to us is one of them is capital T, two of them are capital T, small t, and one of them is small t, homozygous and heterozygous. So 1:2:1. This is something you cannot see. So it is what ratio? It is called genotypic ratio. So you have to write phenotypic ratio at least, but it is better if you also mention, because for monohybrid cross the ratios are very simple, so you mention both phenotypic and genotypic ratio. So this completes your scheme for a 5-mark question. Sometimes they may not say just draw the scheme. Sometimes they will ask you to explain also. Explanation will carry about 2 marks and the schematic representation will carry about 3 marks. Is it clear to all of you? So why it is important here, the reappearance of dwarf? How did the dwarf plant reappear? Because the gamete here, see the pollen here has received small t. The egg here has received small t. That means in the F1 hybrid, capital T and small t. Let me change the slide to give you an explanation. Okay, I don't have any other slides. So on top only I will tell you, if you take the F1 hybrid, this is what we are crossing here, capital T, small t. When it undergoes meiosis, that is gametogenesis. Do you remember I had taught you this? It produces gametes with capital T or gametes with small t. There is no mixing, there is no blending, and you cannot have a gamete having both capital T and small t. So what do you call such gametes which have either capital T or small t? We call such gametes as pure gametes. And what do you call this separation where until now capital T and small t were together but now they get separated? It's called segregation. So we got a gamete with small t because of segregation. And because we have a gamete with small t, let me highlight it. Because we have gamete with small t on both sides, we are getting what plant in the F2 generation? We are getting a dwarf plant in the F2 generation. Did you understand? That means in the F1 hybrid, during the time of gametogenesis, the gamete will either receive capital T or small t, never both, never a mixed product. Such gametes are called pure. That is because capital T and small t get separated from each other during segregation. Okay? Now we will move to a new concept that is called monohybrid test cross. I will introduce you to a new cross over here, again a monohybrid cross, in which I am going to consider the character. I am just moving away from height now. Okay, so I am going to consider a character called flower color. To give you this example, and in flower color I am going to consider 2 characters, violet, 2 traits, violet and white. And in this scheme, I'm going to give a notation for the gene controlling violet as capital W and the gene controlling white as small w. Capital W means it is dominant, small w means it is recessive. So let us take a cross here. The parents of the cross are capital W is crossed with small w, small w. So what is capital W? Capital W, I am writing the genotype directly here. Okay. So capital W means they are all violet flowered. So purebred violet flowers. A plant bearing violet flowers. So violet flowered plant I will write. And this is white flowered plant. P plant only again. Okay. So these plants, if you imagine this to be the male, you are cross-pollinating it again. The male plant will produce one type of pollen. All the pollen will have capital W in them. The the pistil will produce, the ovule will produce eggs which have small w in them. So this is the pollen. I'm cut shorting it, but when you write it in the exam, you have to write everything what I showed you in the scheme, genotype, gametogenesis, everything. So pollen, and this is egg. So now they will fuse. The male gamete in the pollen will fuse with the egg. So let me write fusion here. What will you get? Capital W, small w. And when you grow this seed, all the flowers, all the plants will be of violet flowered type. What is your conclusion? Violet is dominant over white. Okay. Now, here I have written it. On pen and paper I have written it. So you know that the violet flowered plant that we got in which generation? F1 generation. The violet flowered plant is heterozygous. Because I have written it on pen and paper, you know that it is heterozygous. But actually imagine Mendel, when he was conducting his experiments, he knew that the flowers were violet because violet is a phenotype. He could see with his eyes. that the flowers were violet. But what he did not know was, he did not know whether it was homozygous violet or heterozygous violet. How do you know it is heterozygous violet? Because I have written it here. But Mendel, imagine you are conducting an experiment. This is theoretical. What I am doing here on this slide explaining to you is theoretical. So theoretically I have written capital W, small w, you know that it is heterozygous. But Mendel did not know whether it is capital W, small w or capital W, capital W. So we have an F1 hybrid. The F1 hybrid is expressing violet here. What is violet? It is a dominant phenotype. Isn't it? So F1 hybrid is expressing a dominant phenotype, that is violet. But what I do not know is, I do not know. In practicality, when I am doing this experiment, I do not know if this violet plant is capital W, or capital W, small w. So I don't know this. So to find out this, whether the F1 plant, so what do I not know? I don't know the genotype. I know the phenotype, it is violet, but I don't know the genotype. Of which plant? Of the F1 hybrid, not the parents. Parents are pure breeding, you self-pollinated them repeatedly. Here you are bothered only about F1 hybrid. I can see that the F1 hybrid is bearing violet flowers. What I can't see is whether it is capital W or capital W, small w. Here you know because I have written it on paper, but when you are actually doing the experiment, you don't know. So to find out that, he devised a cross which is called monohybrid or just a test cross. Let us write the definition of the test cross here. Or before the definition, let me conduct the test cross and show it to you. So for a test cross, again I'm going to take the same thing, parent. Now I'm going to write it in detail because this is the scheme of the test cross that you should follow. Parents. What are the parents that we chose for this particular cross? Pure breeding or pure breeds of violet flowered plant crossed with pure breed of white flowered plant. Okay, so let me write the genotype here. Genotype is capital W crossed with, I want you also to write along with me, small w. Imagine this to be the male part, the male plant from which you are collecting the pollen. You're cross-pollinating it obviously. You're cross-pollinating a violet flowered plant with a white flowered pea plant. Okay. So now the pollen produced by this plant will have capital W alone in the pollen. And here the egg produced will be small w. So let me show here gametogenesis. The process of formation of the gamete is called gametogenesis, and let me write gametes. Now you know, this you don't have to write, but for your understanding, this is pollen and this is egg. Alright, now this pollen will fuse with this egg. The male gamete in the pollen will fuse with this egg during fertilization or fusion. The resulting plant will be capital W, small w. Now this plant, if you grow, it will become violet flowers. All the plants will grow to bear violet flowered. So it will become a violet flowered pea plant. What generation does this plant belong to? F1 generation. Or you can call it as F1 hybrid. What did I tell you? You don't know. What do you know among these two? You know that it is violet. How do you know it is violet? You can see it. It has violet flowers. When it becomes sexually mature, it starts producing violet flowers. What do you not know? Here I have written it, so you know, but imagine you don't know. What do you not know? You don't know that it is heterozygous. Mendel didn't know whether it is capital W or capital W small w. Now see what happens. Mendel took this F1 plant, the F1 hybrid, and he crossed it with its recessive parent. Who is the recessive parent? Small w, small w. Did you understand? So this kind of a cross, what kind of a cross? You are taking the F1 hybrid. What do you know? Phenotype you know. What do you not know? You don't know the genotype. Imagine you don't know the genotype. At the beginning you will not know. So a plant whose phenotype is known, that is expressing a dominant phenotype, whose genotype is not known or is to be determined, is crossed with what parent? See, I'm putting a box here. A recessive parent. Small w is the recessive parent. Such a cross is called a test cross. And why do you do this cross? Like I told you, to find out the genotype of the F1 hybrid. So let us conduct that cross now here. So remember, what are you crossing with what? You are crossing the F1 hybrid with its recessive parent. So let me write here F1 hybrid. Let me continue the scheme. Is crossed with recessive parent. So what is the genotype? Here I am writing it on paper. You know it is capital W, small w. Recessive parent is small w, small w. Now imagine this to be the pollen donor, male, and this to be the egg donor, female plant. Two different plants. So this will produce, it's important to write everything, okay? So write genotype here. And then write gametogenesis. So it produces two types of pollen. What are the two types of pollen? Half of them with capital W alone, half of them with small w alone. This plant produces only the ovule, or in the pistil will produce only one type of egg. Which is it? Egg with only small w. So we have two types of pollen and only one type of egg. Now where do we put this to find out the next generation? Which is the next generation? The next generation is F2 generation. For this we will write a Punnett square board. See, we have always been doing that. So let me take a row and only one column, one row, two rows are enough, and a column. And let me divide this corner into two halves, and the end facing the row I'm going to mark it as male and female over here. So here I will write the male gametes, pollen I will write capital W, small w. And here I will write only one type of egg. What is it? Small w. So now let us make boxes and let us see what we get, what plants we get in which generation. Please remember F2 generation. So W, capital W, small w, small w, small w. That means we get, one of them is violet flowered and one of them is white flowered. One of them is heterozygous and one of them is homozygous. So what is the phenotypic and genotypic ratio? Both the ratios are 1:1, 50-50. Half of them are violet flowered plants, half of them are white flowered plants. So this is the key. If you get a ratio of 1:1, if you get a ratio of 1:1, that means you can be 100% sure that the F1 hybrid whose genotype you did not know is a heterozygote. Did you understand what I'm saying? So that is the result of the test cross. If you get a ratio of 1:1, the F1 hybrid is capital W, small w. It tells us that the F1 hybrid is heterozygous. So you all have to look for this ratio, the test cross ratio of 1:1. If you get a 1:1 ratio, that means the plant whose genotype you did not know, the F1 hybrid happens to be capital W, small w, that is heterozygous. You only imagine if the plant was capital W, if it was capital W, you wouldn't get white plants at all in the F2 generation. So how will you get a ratio of 1:1? Not possible. When can you get a ratio of 1:1? When the F1 hybrid is capital W, small w. So in the scheme you have to write here, I have not written, but you have to write phenotypic plus genotypic ratio is the same. What is the phenotypic plus the genotypic ratio? 1:1. Phenotypic and genotypic ratio are 1:1. Then what is your conclusion? Which one's genotype you didn't know? You knew the F1 hybrid was violet, but you didn't know whether it was capital W, capital W. Please give focus to F1 hybrid here. You knew that this F1 hybrid was violet, but you did not know that it was capital W or whether it was homozygous or heterozygous. Now because you got a ratio of 1:1, you know that it is capital W, small w. So now let us define what a test cross is. So I'm going to write here a test cross. Now since we have considered only one character here, that is flower color, we have called this a monohybrid test cross. Otherwise what I'm defining here is a test cross. Okay, a test cross is a cross in which, or let us say a cross between which plant? F1 plant. Okay, of which phenotype? It was violet. So what is violet? Violet is something you could see. So it was a plant of dominant phenotype. So F1 plant, a cross between F1 plant of dominant phenotype. What did you not know about this plant? Whose what was to be determined? Whose genotype is to be determined. You don't know whether it is capital W or capital W small w. Whose genotype is to be determined. So remember, I'm repeating again, a cross between F1 plant of dominant phenotype violet, whose genotype you don't know, is to be determined, and a cross between this plant and its what parent? Recessive parent, small w. See, this is the meaning of a test cross. And if the F1 hybrid is heterozygous, what will the ratio be? 1:1. Don't forget. If it is homozygous, you will not get such a ratio at all. All of them will be violet. But in the F2 generation, 50% are violet, 50% are white. That is because the F1 hybrid is capital W, small w. So if you get a ratio of 1:1, that means the F1 hybrid is heterozygous. That's why it is called test cross. What are you testing? You are testing the genotype of the F1 hybrid. You don't know the genotype of the F1 hybrid. You don't know whether it is homozygous or heterozygous. So if they ask you a question of what is the significance, let us again go back here. Now we have a clear slide for test cross. So what is the significance of a test cross? A significance is when you have a F1 plant. Say I had a violet F1 plant. I am not writing the genotype because I don't know the genotype. What don't I know? I don't know the genotype. So now I'm actually not writing so that you don't know it. What do I know? Violet means what? I can see it. So I know its phenotype. I know its phenotype, but I do not know its genotype. So what will I do to such a plant? I will take such a plant, F1 plant, and I will cross it with which parent? Recessive parent. And when I did this, what did I get? If by chance I get a ratio of 1:1, then what does it indicate? It indicates that the F1 plant has a genotype of heterozygous. That is the whole purpose behind test cross. So I cross this F1 plant. I know it is violet flowered. I know the phenotype, but there is a big question mark to genotype. When you write the scheme, obviously you're writing the genotype, but understand practically you don't know the genotype. That's why I didn't write here. Have I written capital W, small w here? No, I have not written. So assume you don't know the genotype. So you take that F1 plant, you cross it with its recessive parent. If you get a 1:1 ratio, that means what was the genotype of that plant? The genotype of the F1 plant is heterozygous, capital W, small w. So let us see the significance. In one sentence, if you were to write the significance is, it is to determine dash, you only fill the gap, to determine dash of F1 progeny, or progeny means offspring, F1 progeny. Now what should you fill in the blank? Should you write phenotype or genotype? Some of you say phenotype. How can it be phenotype? Violet, you're seeing it already, so you know the phenotype is violet, but you don't know whether it is heterozygous or homozygous. So it is used to determine the genotype of the F1 progeny. So here, using this cross, we determined the genotype of the F1 progeny. We got a ratio of 1:1, so that means the F1 progeny has a genotype of capital W, small w, heterozygous genotype. Did you understand the logic behind test cross? So you should learn, in the previous slide I have given you on top of the page, you should learn the definition of test cross: a cross between F1 progeny or F1 plant of dominant phenotype whose genotype is to be determined and its recessive parent. You're crossing the, like I've shown here, F1 plant is crossed with its recessive parent. And how will you know that the F1 plant is heterozygous? When you get a ratio of 1:1, you will conclude that the F1 plant happens to be heterozygous. If you don't get a ratio of 1:1, that means the F1 plant is homozygous. It is capital W, capital W. The fact that you're getting a ratio of 1:1 indicates that the F1 plant happens to be heterozygous, capital W, small w. I hope it is clear. Okay. See, this is the example for test cross that is given in the textbook. That's why I spoke of flower color. They've given a plant which is violet flower. You can see with your naked eye. You're seeing it's violet. So you know the phenotype. What you don't know whether it is homozygous or heterozygous. You conduct a test cross. What are you crossing it with? See, small w, recessive parent. So this is the recessive parent. Now which side are you getting ratio 1:1? See, here you are getting a ratio of 1:1. Here you are not getting a ratio of 1:1. So wherever you get a ratio 1:1, that plant is capital W, small w, heterozygous. So this plant which is violet, now you know, if you get this ratio of 1:1, you know that it is heterozygous. If you don't get the ratio of 1:1, you know that it is homozygous. Okay. What is a back cross? Now in back cross, what happens is, again you imagine, I have crossed a violet flowered pea plant with a pure breeding white flowered pea plant. What will I get in the F1 generation? I am writing it on paper, so I know I will get heterozygous. But all of them will be violet. Now a back cross is slightly different from a test cross, because in back cross what you can do is, you can take this F1 plant. Remember, this plant is what generation? F1 generation. And these are what? These are parents. So you take the F1 generation plant, either you can cross it with this parent or you can cross it with this parent. This is called a back cross. In back cross, it can either be the dominant parent. You cross the F1 generation F1 hybrid. You take the F1 hybrid and you cross it with either the dominant parent or the recessive parent. That is called a backcross. So how do we define a backcross? Let us define a backcross. A cross between F1 hybrid or plant or F1 progeny with either of its parents. Either of its parents. Either the dominant parent or the recessive parent. But if you are doing this recessive parent, then what do we call it specifically? Test cross, isn't it? Just now we discussed. So test cross is actually a type of back cross, because back cross means you cross it with either of them. But if you are doing this cross where you are crossing it with its recessive parent, you give it a separate name called test cross. That means test cross is nothing but a type of back crosses. That's why there is a statement that we use: all test crosses are, obviously because test cross is a type of back cross, all test crosses are back crosses, but not all back crosses are test crosses. Why not all back crosses are test crosses? Because in back cross you are also crossing it with dominant parent. Then it doesn't become a test cross. It is a test cross only when you cross it with a recessive parent. So test cross is a type of back cross, but not all back crosses are test crosses. So please remember, either you are crossing the F1 plant with its dominant parent or you are crossing it with a recessive. When you do it with either of them, your choice, then it is called a back cross. But if you are doing it with the recessive parent, then you will give this back cross a more specific name, that is called test cross. So test cross is a more specific term for a type of back cross where you are crossing the F1 progeny with its recessive parent. I hope it is clear. Okay? So what did we learn today? We learned, and yeah, I forgot to mention the significance of back cross. Now why would you want to conduct a back cross where you have parent 1? I told you just now, I am writing it again. Capital W crossed with small w, you get capital W, small w. You either cross it with the dominant parent or you cross it with the recessive parent. Why would you want to do this? You want to do this because you want to retain the parental characters. You want to create a group of plants which are genetically identical to the parents. So it is done to introduce, or a better word would be to retain, superior parental genotypes or genes down the generations. Are you understanding? There's something with the parents which you want to keep passing down the generations again. So therefore you keep going back to the parents. See the word used here. You keep going back to the parents. Back cross. Either the dominant parent or the recessive parent. Please remember, what is this plant? This is the F1 plant. The F1 offspring, the F1 progeny. Since you keep going back to the parent because you want to retain what characters? You want to make sure that some of the superior parental genes are passed on. You want to keep accumulating the parental genes. You don't want to let go of the parental characters. So to keep or retain the superior genotypes down the further generations, you keep conducting back cross. Okay? So we learned a review of Mendel's monohybrid cross, test cross and its significance, and back cross, and also We learned the significance of back cross. So I want you to write for homework, only the genotypic and the phenotypic ratio of Mendel's monohybrid cross, 1 mark each. Then please write what is a test cross, mention the significance of test cross, and please write what is a back cross. So please go through the slides, revise, rewind it, and see I have written all the definitions. Write it down in your book, go through the NCERT, and do your homework. Okay, so with this we complete the third lecture of principles of inheritance and variation. Thank you.